25 international survey projects were conducted worldwide between 1995 and 2020 to suss out what people thought about political democracies. 2019 recorded an all-time low. What has caused this shift in trust? Why are people so dissatisfied with how traditional governments are currently functioning? Welcome to Alux.com, the place where future billionaires come to get inspired. If you're not subscribed yet, you're missing out. Number 1. Elections promote short-term goals. Electioneering leads to the kind of long-term growth you would get if you allowed toddler tantrums to determine dinner menus. Today we're leaving vegetables off the menu, tomorrow you're eating chips for the 5th meal in a row, and before you know it, the only menu item is chocolate pudding eaten straight off the kitchen floor and everything's a mess. A country's long-term needs and goals are sacrificed for the short-term promises needed to be elected for a 3 to 5 year reign. This means that the practical, complicated, and boring policies of sustainable development and economics are overlooked for all the sexier topics, like tax cuts and jobs and promoting fossil fuel. These promises pander to the voters' current needs but do nothing for future growth. Number 2. Leaders are great on posters, but not always on paper. There's no minimum qualification requirement to being president in most countries, let alone holding any form of political office. You don't need medical training to run a country's health department, or know anything about mining or energy to be elected to the top position in the country, and in many countries you can rise up through the ranks with a pending criminal trial. Because the current system of democratic election generally is based in the belief that anyone can run for office, it fails to ask the question, should they? Number 3. Democracy as we know it isn't enough. In 2019, democratic satisfaction took a nosedive in the UK. Love for democracy has been in a steady freefall, peaking after 30 years of satisfaction when Tony Blair was in office in the early 2000s. Since then, democracy in the UK has seen plenty of scandal that has led to voter dissatisfaction. For example, the Brexit stalemate that dragged on and did nothing to change the lives of most voters. Now, 57.5% or the majority of UK voters are dissatisfied with the current political system according to recent reports. There's been a move toward a rise of populism. This is causing more politicians to address the everyday issues of ordinary people rather than serve large elite groups. Number 4. Decisions don't serve the greater good. It's become painfully clear that democracy that was meant to serve the people is similar to the feudal system and serves the rich. In almost every democracy, there are examples of corporations and wealthy people strong-arming governments to reduce taxes and regulations that will favor and increase their wealth. This isn't a matter of government failing to act against this daylight robbery, which has caused such huge inequality, but is rather a matter of government assisting to cause this inequality and serve the needs of the mega-rich. Number 5. Society is complexerer than before. There is so much to know and so many ways of knowing it that it's near impossible to make a good decision when choosing a government candidate. That's right, it's as complicated as it sounds. So let's unpack this a little more. Problems in our world are so complex, but officials trying to be elected do so by proposing solutions, and these solutions have to be catchy and simple. For example, let's take Make America Great Again. Sounds great. Who wouldn't want their country to be great? But the truth is that's an oversimplification and something no one could ever hold you to. The whole thing falls apart with a few simple questions. What parts of America would be made great? How would we start the greatness campaign? And how would we know when we've arrived at great? But that's not what politicians trying to get elected are willing to answer. They just ride on the hype and leave out the complexities of what makes up a country or what it means to indeed make it great. That's not what gets them elected in the current system. Number 6. Democracy was easier when it started. We can thank the ancient Greeks for democracy. It was them who first opened the floor to input from citizens. But isn't this still happening? Well, no, nothing of the sort actually. In Greece, a citizenship has to be earned. It wasn't a birthright. It was bestowed on someone who earned it by developing new theories, were a recognized artist, contributed to the economy, or served in the military. And citizenship was for much smaller city-states, which comprised of small-town populations, so it wasn't millions of opinions to consider, but rather someone who is more qualified to begin with, who was part of a small community. Number 7. Traditional governments just aren't up to date. If you've ever applied for anything from a passport to a driver's license or any type of government funding for a tax refund, you'll know that it's an outdated system. Governments are also late to start adopting ready-made systems like blockchain and harness them to their advantage. Instead, they still treat them like an enemy of the state. Don't be like traditional government, Aluxers. Get up to speed with blockchain and how it can harness and enhance your life or business. We made a great video all about it to get you started. 15 ways blockchain is changing the world. Number 8. Governing by majority creates minority. The majority vote isn't as unifying as it sounds. When governing in a system where the majority rules the roost, you end up with the other half being underserved by the system or their needs not being considered at all. What actually comes from a traditional majority government is more minority being fractured into underserved communities. And if you add capitalist values into the mix, the gap widens between the majority and the minority as the economy fuels and protects the haves and have-nots. Number 9. Politics isn't a thankless job. If we look at the current leaders of the world, they all have something in common. Nope, not that they're mostly a group of grandpa-aged white dudes, more along the common thread that they all have massive egos, but we'll expand on the white dudes later. True leaders are there to bring out the best in people, not to act like a rock star. This is something that traditional governments have gotten terribly wrong as the politician has taken up celebrity status and forgotten the role of public servant. Number 10. Voters don't know enough. We've really inflated our politicians to rock star status and cast our vote based on whose charisma and charm we prefer, or who has all the right friends in all the right places and all the right moves and all the right faces, and the most convincing argument, not necessarily the most accurate information. And the truth is, few of us really care enough to do our homework and actually check what our voting candidate really said was accurate or even true at all. I mean, what do we really know about the implications of a move like Brexit, or forming a union, or opening up trade borders, or declaring a war? We just roll the dice and hope like hell the shiniest politician knows what they're talking about. Number 11. There is so much red tape. Aluxers, even if you have a great political leader in power making the right decisions, often there is so much red tape involved that it takes ages for those decisions to come into practice. Like American writer Ben Bova once said, "Red tape has killed more people than bullets." Did you know there is a specific name to a delay tactic used in Parliament? Stay right where you are, we'll share it with you shortly. Number 12. Having huge cabinets of people making decisions is not necessary. It's a complete waste of time, money, and energy. What's more, most cabinet ministers earn ridiculously high salaries that can't even be justified for the work being done. Traditional governments could save a shit ton of money by turning to blockchain to make decisions easier, faster, and for the benefit of its people instead of just a select few. Number 13. Popularity of ideas. Do you remember the most popular kid at school? They were probably beautiful, wealthy, and everyone gravitated toward them. Anything they said went. It doesn't matter how ridiculous or ill thought out the plan was, they're beautiful and rich, so it doesn't matter. Same for democracy. Plus, Aluxers, you know how it is with the cool kids. You just go along with the crappy idea because you don't want to be left out. Number 14. Electoral turnout can often be abysmal. If you've got free and fair elections in your country, you might have heard non-voters being asked, "Why don't you vote?" And the answer is often an apathetic, "One vote won't make a difference." And if you have 100,000 people with the same mindset, turns out their vote would definitely make a difference. In the 2015 general election in the UK, 33% of the population did not vote. The non-voters were labeled the unheard third, which could so clearly have changed the outcome of the election. There are 4 reasons why people don't vote. 1. To register can be a bit of a mission. 2. Many are not educated enough to realize their vote is important. 3. People don't have enough viable choices. And 4. Some have lost confidence in all ruling parties. So until everyone comes out to vote, no election result is 100% accurate. Number 15. All politicians are a copy-paste-repeat model. Hey Luxers, let's be honest. Barring a few exceptions, most politicians look like they're from the same mold. One must wonder if all world leaders look the same. Does it extend to their thinking as well? So, Aluxers, why do you think traditional governments are outdated? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And of course, you stuck with us until the end. Here's that bonus we owe you. 14 hours and 13 minutes. That's the length of the longest filibuster. A filibuster, aka the talking out bill, is a tactic used during parliamentary procedure. It allows a person to delay or prevent communication or votes on a proposal to take place. It's an undemocratic procedure allowing mostly minority parties to block legislation from advancing in the Senate. Filibuster used today is much weaker than it was 100 years ago, but it can still kill progressive legislation. As former President Barack Obama once said, adding the filibuster has made it almost impossible for us to effectively govern at a time when you have at least one party that is not willing to compromise on issues. Thanks for watching, Aluxers. We hope you enjoyed today's video. We'd love to have you subscribe for some more videos and appreciate that thumbs up.